Hi, I'm Stephanie Burgis, and I made a commitment to myself to get more comfortable making videos this year. So I asked all of my friends on Twitter which book they'd like me to read out loud from. And the Twitter poll chose Moontangled. This is the latest novella in my Harwood Spellbook series of romantic fantasies. And that is my cat's ear getting in the way. Sorry about that. But this is Moontangled, and I'm going to shift my cat out of the screen and read a little bit from the opening. Moontangled. Dressing for a ball would always be a challenge for any lady who found it easier to analyze from memory an obscure spell from 2 centuries ago than to remember which sleeve lengths were currently fashionable across the nation. But dressing for a ball at England's first women's college of magic, where at least half the dancers were certain to add competitive spellwork to their costumes, and the enigmatic local fae were likely to make an appearance, that raised the standards and the stakes enormously. And when it came to selecting exactly the right outfit to entice one's own recalcitrant secret fiancé, well, it was lucky that Juliana Banks was used to tackling tricky challenges. It was even luckier that for the first time in her life, she'd found a whole cohort of fellow women who understood her. "Definitely not this gown, ever," Ariana Stewart declared, her head buried in Juliana's wardrobe. Hard on the heels of Ariana's words, Sujana Rao threw open the bedroom door without a knock and bustled inside, her slim figure nearly hidden behind the massive stack of clothes that filled her arms. I knew she'd forget. Sujana dropped her pile onto Juliana's bed with a tisk. "Don't bother looking through that pit of horrors, Ariana. I've been making notes for weeks about what to offer her tonight," when she finally began to panic. "I'm not quite that predictable," Juliana began, just as the door opened once more and Anne Hammersley poked her auburn head inside. "Oh, good. I thought I'd find everyone here." Juliana forgot about the ball, didn't she? I knew she would. Ugh. Juliana collapsed onto the bed with a groan, barely avoiding one of her own gowns that Ariana had tossed aside in disgust. "I did not forget," she said. "I only—" The door opened even further as Willa Coe swept past Anne, a selection of masks dangling from her fingers. "She forgot it was tonight, didn't she?" said Willa. "Don't worry, I've got plenty of masks to spare. If we all put our heads together, we'll manage to fit her out nicely in time." It was fortunate, Juliana reminded herself, that her classmates knew her so well. It was only ever so slightly humiliating that they understood her so well. "I might have remembered," she mumbled, "if it hadn't been for—" "That end-of-term project that's not due for 2 more months?" Ariana inquired, still digging for unlikely treasure in the depths of the wardrobe, beneath Juliana's excess books and papers. "You mean the one she finished 2 weeks ago, but isn't quite certain is perfect yet?" Sujana rolled her eyes and pulled a sparkling blue and purple shawl from her pile to hold against Juliana. "Oh, no." Anne's lips curved into a subtle smile as she closed the door and walked soft-footed across the room. Even after all these months, she still carried herself with the hesitation of a scholarship girl, uncertain of her welcome among her classmates. But rueful knowledge filled her voice. "I'll wager she's already been asking our professors about the projects due at the end of the year." "I don't believe it's any of those," said Willa firmly. "I think she's doing extra work separate from our coursework just for fun. And she's not even asking for extra credit." She pointed at Juliana's guilty expression. "You see? I told you so." As her friends burst into gales of laughter, Juliana groaned and covered her eyes with her hands. "It's not like that," she protested. "It's just... we have only 4 years to study with some of the cleverest magicians in the nation. So if I just happened to ask Mr. Wrexham to recommend some added reading, and then those books happened to be particularly interesting, so I went looking in the library for more on the same subject, and then those threw up some particularly complicated equations that I had to work out, which distracted me, so I thought we had another week to prepare." That response came from all 4 of her classmates at once, and their exaggeratedly weary tone was so outrageous that there really was only one possible reaction, at least for a lady who'd spent all of her life sneak reading stolen magical texts. At the ripe old age of 23, she had finally found a home where she could use all of that formerly forbidden knowledge. So every piece of clothing from the bed and the floor shot up and then scattered, raining down in a heavy, fluttering shower of sparkle and color across 4 of the women Juliana loved most in the entire world. So that's Moontangled. It's officially number 3 in the Harwood Spellbook series. You can read it as your first introduction to the series, but both of these women did appear first in Snowspelled and Thornbound. And thank you for hanging out with me. Bye.